Magnets. Greetings, love warriors. Greetings, love icons. We have a wonderful topic for you guys tonight. Our topic tonight is what is toxic femininity part 2. You guys, despite the title, this topic is absolutely for women and men. It's for women and men. Okay, so I'm going to challenge the guys. I'm going to invite the guys to stay connected to this conversation tonight. You're going to soon find out that this is for both women and men. Hola, hola, Dabney. Greetings, greetings. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Um, y'all, this topic tonight, what is toxic femininity part 2. Last week we got into it and it was such a good conversation. We had a lot of fun. Greetings, Jatin. How are you tonight? Greetings, greetings. Joining us from the UK, you guys. And Dabney is from Nashville. Got an international crowd, you guys. I'm so glad to see men in here tonight. So we're talking about toxic femininity, and as we discussed last week, it's not something that only affects women. Toxic femininity affects men as well. Greetings, Diggy Mo from Brooklyn. You guys, I'm so glad to have men in the chat tonight. We're going to discuss the ways that toxic femininity not only affects women, but affects men as well, right? Toxic femininity affects women, but it also affects the men in women's life, as well as it especially affects men who are nurturers, okay? Men who are nurturers, who are good men, and you're gonna see in a little while why I'm using air quotes on that, really get a hard time and do not get appreciated, right? You don't hear about the men who are actually nurturers and who are good to their families, who are excellent fathers, who are good husbands, good boyfriends, who are supportive to those around them. We don't hear nearly enough about that, and they do not get the appreciation that they deserve. And there's a very specific reason for that, and we're going to get into it tonight. Okay, we've been given some very messed up models for how to be nurturers and how we value nurturers and how we treat nurturers. Okay, and men are definitely also nurturers. It's not just the women. Okay, so before we get into all the details, real quick, I want to introduce myself. For those who don't know, my name is Pangea Northstar. I am an energy healer. I am a Reiki therapist, a sound therapist. I do love and life coaching. I call myself an attraction coach, is how I refer to myself, because I am teaching based on the laws of attraction always, okay? So on this segment that I do every Tuesday night live, we call it Attracting Love Energy, and we're always talking about ways that we can attract more love energy into our life, because love energy is for self-forgiveness, self-healing, self-acceptance, abundance, and love in all forms. Okay, so what is toxic femininity, right? And the POV tonight is from sacral chakra and solar plexus chakra energy. Greetings, TJ the Leo King. Greetings, greetings. Okay, so Zena Electra, greetings. So glad you could make it tonight. So one aspect, we're talking about toxic femininity from the POV of sacral chakra and solar plexus chakra energy. Okay, you guys, I want you to follow me real quick as I introduce you to how we're going to talk about this subject tonight. One key aspect of sacral chakra energy is the ability to set boundaries. Okay, the ability to set boundaries. All right, that is an aspect of sacral chakra energy, right? We're also talking about solar plexus energy tonight, solar plexus chakra energy. And an aspect of solar plexus chakra energy is having a strong sense of self, right? Your individuality or your personal power, okay? Your personal power, all right? So having a strong sense of who you are and staying in touch with that and prioritizing that, okay? So you guys, check this out. One of the first things that you must do when it's your job to protect an area or an item is to establish a boundary around that area or that item. Okay? I'm going to say that again. One of the first things you have to do to protect an area or an item, something that is yours, is to establish a boundary around that area or that item. Does that make sense? If so, give me some hearts in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Right? So, what is it that we're talking about protecting today? What is the protection that we're talking about? It's boundary setting, right? And what is the area or the item that you are protecting? It's your sense of self and your personal power, okay? So, in order to maintain your goals, in order to maintain your peace, your values, your integrity, your joy, right? Your balance, your self-worth, you must be skilled at boundary setting, okay? And this is something that a lot of people struggle with. I know I struggled with this for a long time, okay? As a woman, as a mother, as a wife, even as like a business owner, I struggled with setting boundaries, okay? Because I felt like I'm supposed to take care of everybody around me, okay? And I know a lot of men that struggle with this too, as a father, as a husband, as a boyfriend, right? Even as a big brother, right? As any male caretaker or nurturer, we struggle sometimes with setting boundaries, okay? If you have ever struggled with setting boundaries, give me some hearts in the chat. Give me some hearts in the chat. If you have a role in your life as some type of caretaker or as a nurturer, and you have struggled in that role with setting boundaries, give me some hearts in the chat, okay? Yes, absolutely. It can be a caretaker for your parents, a caretaker for your children. You could be a big sister, a big brother, right? As a son, right? It can be difficult, especially if the people around you don't consider you. If they don't consider that you may have some boundaries, or they don't listen when you assert a boundary. They just keep going like they never heard what you said. Oh, I've got to do this. I've got to do this today. I've got to take care of that today, right? Or, I need this for me, or I'm struggling with that. If they're not listening, they're not respecting that, it can really be a struggle, right? So check this out. Toxic femininity. Toxic femininity defines femininity as a monolithic experience. A monolithic just means that there's only one way to do it, right? It's always the same, right? So toxic femininity defines femininity as a monolithic experience, saying there's only one way to be feminine or to be a nurturer at all, right? Because we always get, nurturer is always associated with femininity, but we're going to prove today that that is not true, and that's not the case, right? But toxic femininity says there's only one way to do this, only one way to be a nurturer, and it looks like weakness and it looks like passivity, being passive and let people run over you, okay? These limiting definitions, all it does is further polarize the genders into roles of the oppressed and the oppressor, okay? So it really makes relationships between men and women, no matter what kind of relationship it is, it makes it so that someone is always the oppressed person and someone's always the oppressor, one or the other, right? Because you see different people in different roles. It's not always men oppressing women. There are women who become oppressive of the men who try to support them because that's how they've been treated when they were in supportive roles. Okay, if you're a man in the chat and you have experienced this, give me some hearts. If you're a woman in the chat and you've experienced it when you're trying to nurture someone or support someone, their behavior towards you is oppressive. It becomes oppressive. It becomes overwhelming for you. If you've ever experienced that, give me some more hearts in the chat. Okay. So these limiting definitions, they further polarize us into these roles of oppressed and oppressor. And we have to, guys, we have to reject those definitions of femininity and of nurturer, and allow women to be strong, as well as allowing men to have rights to their own emotions. Men have the rights to their emotions, right? They have a right to have full access to their emotions, right? People, both men and women, get ostracized or criticized, scrutinized for being emotional. You know, oh, so and so is emotional. When somebody says, oh, that person is just being emotional, that's a way to dismiss somebody, right? Someone who is emotional, that's another way of saying that somebody's, being weak, or, it's not worth listening to them, right? If you guys have ever been in that position, let me know. Give me some thumbs up in the chat if you've ever, felt that someone is dismissing your emotions, or that you're being pushed to put your emotions aside and ignore your own emotions. Let's see. Yes, we have a man in the chat saying definitely true about men's emotions. Absolutely. You guys are not supposed to, have full access to your emotions or express your emotions, right? Then you're accused of being weak or being feminine. And that's totally wrong. And what's so crazy about it is that in relationships between men and women, one of the biggest complaints you hear from women is that men don't express themselves, right? That they don't express their emotions, or that men don't understand women's emotions. Well, how can men understand women's emotions when they've been cut off from their own emotions? If they're not given, free reign to explore and express their own emotions, how in the world are they supposed to make space for ours? It doesn't make sense, right? Okay, so toxic femininity says, toxic femininity says that women or anyone in a role of nurturer cannot assert boundaries and still be a good nurturer. That's crazy. That's crazy, right? Toxic femininity tells us that you cannot assert boundaries and still be a good nurturer, okay? That is absolutely crazy. So keep in mind, and I'm going to show you why I'm saying men can still be nurturers, and we know this stuff, but we just don't hear it. But it's silly that the label nurturer always is attached to women and is a measure of women's femininity. But that's really code for saying, do you allow people to run over you? Right? How well do you place yourself on the back burner? Okay? Let's look at the definition of nurturer, the real definition of nurturer. Nurture means to care for and encourage the growth or development of. To nurture someone means to care for and encourage the growth or development of that person. Don't good fathers do this just as much as good mothers? Hello, somebody. Don't good fathers, good husbands do this as well as good mothers and good wives? Give me some hearts in the chat. Does that make sense to you? This is why I'm saying men are definitely nurturers, right? But look what happens with people who are nurturers. Good, when you put that word good in front of it, right? According to this definition, men are definitely nurturers just as much as women, because we know protecting and providing, which is what always gets associated with masculinity, that is also a form of nurturing. That is caring for and encouraging the growth and development of a family, right? So toxic femininity does this. Toxic femininity says that a good wife must give up her future plans, her name, right? Her goals, use of her own better judgment or divine guidance to be led by the husband, right? Because in traditional marriages, the woman is considered the nurturer, and she has to give up her whole everything and be led. Her life, her future plans are made by what? The husband. She gives up her sense of self, right? Now, check this out though. Now we have this modern thing that says a good husband must give up his personal happiness to fulfill. We've all heard this saying, happy wife, happy life. Happy wife, happy life. I'm sorry, y'all, that's toxic. It's toxic. Happy wife, happy life. Haven't we all heard that? Have you ever considered that that's toxic? Where is the consideration for the man in that, right? And then we wonder why men don't want to get married. Why would they? If that is the standard that they're being held to, right? So a good husband is just as oppressed as a quote unquote good wife, right? Does this make sense to y'all? Give me some thumbs up in the chat if this makes sense to you guys. Okay, so let's look at this more. A mother must sacrifice her whole identity to be a good mother, right? Her name is now Mama. And the totality of her self-fulfillment is supposed to be derived just from motherhood, right? All your goals, all your plans, all your personal time, anything, that made you uniquely you is all supposed to be funneled now into the children, and that's the totality of your happiness. Right? Yes, I see the thumbs up in the chat. If anybody else can relate to that, give me some thumbs up in the chat. Okay? So, check this out. A good father must push aside his mental and physical health and well-being on every level and become a superhero to be deemed a good father. Right? What's going on with this word good? When you're good at these roles, these traditional roles that we've been taught, that's when you're putting yourself on the back burner, right? This is a either or mentality that we're looking at, you guys. An either or mentality, and it's toxic. It says that either a person can be whole, either one person can feel whole, or the other person can feel nurtured. But a good nurturer cannot be whole. That is the underlying messaging, right? Either one person can feel whole, or the other person can feel nurtured, but a good nurturer cannot be whole. Okay, we've got a message from a man here. I'm gonna read this. It says, when we do express ourselves, we get pushed away for it. Then we get silent and don't want to share our emotions. We are just mean and insensitive. Exactly. When men do express themselves, they get pushed away, they get silenced, right? Why is that? Because toxic femininity has not taught us as women how to receive other people's emotions, right? It hasn't taught us how to receive our men's emotions, because toxic femininity says the men don't have emotions. Men are just, tough guy all the time, fearless all the time. But this fearless leader all the time, always have the answers, never scared, never upset, never have feelings about anything. So toxic femininity doesn't teach us how to receive emotions, but it does keep us in our emotions because it keeps us feeling insecure, right? So toxic femininity, and when we talk about it from a throat chakra perspective, we'll talk about, how toxic femininity does not teach us to be good listeners, as well as not good at expressing our own emotions. But it also makes it difficult for us to hear other people's emotions. Thank you so much for that comment, Diggy Mo. Okay, so now, and you guys, I love talking about these topics from a perspective of men and women, because there's all this like gender wars mess out here. I almost said something else. All this gender wars crap, which I cannot stand, because I hear men and women saying the same things. I hear that what men and women, the underlying meaning is the same thing. No one feels appreciated. No one feels seen. No one feels respected. We're just expressing it in two different ways. So Dabney says, it was told to me that men don't show their feelings, and I used to practice that, but it's exhausting. Yes, absolutely. It is exhausting. It's exhausting. And men are tired of it. This is why men die earlier, than women. One of the reasons that men die earlier than women on a whole, on the large numbers, right? It's freaking exhausting to hold in how you feel all the time. Because when you hold in, look, here's one thing I always say. When you hold in your expression, that puts distance between you and your partner, right? Or you and your friend, whoever it is. It could be you and a parent or you and a sibling. But when you don't express yourself, it puts distance between you and that person. There's this, as I say, elephant in the room, right? And you got to do all this dancing around this elephant in the room, this unexpressed emotion, right? And then like when you continually do that again, 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 and there's all this distance and more distance and more distance and more distance between you and that person, before long, you don't really know each other anymore. They don't know the real you. And a toxic person who has become your oppressor now because there's no room in the relationship for your feelings, they don't care to know you. And this can happen to a man just as much as it can happen to a woman. It happens to anyone who is trying to nurture someone who is toxic, right? It happens because we're taught this model of relationship of oppressor and oppressed. So when you go into this role of being nurturer, there are lots of people out here. Rare is the person who has enough integrity to continue to treat you well when you show them that you will sacrifice for them. Most people will just go right ahead and take advantage of that and just run over you and take more and more and more. As they say, you give an inch. If I give you an inch, you'll take a mile, right? Give me some thumbs up if you've experienced that as the nurturer in any scenario. Okay, if you've experienced that, you give people an inch and they take a mile. Give me some thumbs up if that resonates with you. Okay, so you guys, we have to reject these definitions of femininity, these rejections of nurturer, or these definitions of what it means to be the nurturer, and allow the women to be strong and the men to have a full range of emotions, because both genders deserve to be fully human. Both genders desire to be fully human, right? The human spirit desires expansion, right? Expansion. So you guys, when you think about this, like, you're sacrificing yourself, you're putting yourself to the side, you're putting yourself on the back burner. In marriages, we're taught, you're supposed to give up, or put aside or delay your hopes and your dreams, for this other person. And that's what love means. It's always all this, sacrifice, 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 rather than two people meeting in the middle and like negotiating, compromising, complimenting each other, supporting each other, right? It's always sacrifice, it's like there is a difference, So this is yet another thing, you guys, and we talked about this last week. This is yet another thing that makes getting cheated on hurt so bad. Oh my God. This is one of the things that makes it hurt so bad when you get cheated on. When you have given up aspects of yourself that you should never give up just to make a relationship work. Even the most faithful partner could not make up for you giving up your goals, your dreams, your passions, your identity, your peace, your self-respect, right? Even the most faithful partner couldn't make up for that. But if they betray you after you have betrayed yourself for them, it is such a long road to self-forgiveness and redemption. And it is self-betrayal when you put yourself on the back burner for that other person. Okay? And I really pray that we will all begin to look at this and make a promise to ourselves that we will never ever again betray ourselves. Okay? Give me some thumbs up in the chat if that resonates for you. Okay? Give me some thumbs up if you have experienced this for yourself. Okay? So, you guys, we're going to move on to talking about the energy, talking more about the energy of these chakras, okay? So we can really come to understand more what this is about. So we said the POV for tonight is your sacral chakra, which is setting boundaries. Thanks for the thumbs up in the chat, the support in the chat. Let me know if this is resonating for you guys. So the sacral chakra we mentioned earlier is about that boundary setting. The location of your sacral chakra is above your pubic bone, but below your navel. Okay, above the pubic bone, but below the navel. Okay, so for women, this is the womb space. Okay, for men, you don't have a womb in that space, but it's still your sacral chakra energy. Okay, um, the archetype for an imbalanced sacral chakra is called the martyr. Okay, the martyr. All right, which means the people pleaser. You putting yourself on the cross. You sacrificing yourself for other people. Okay. When someone, we're going to give some examples, right? So when someone new comes into your life, continue to prioritize your goals. Okay. When someone new comes into your life, and we're talking about dating now, right? When someone new comes into your life, continue to prioritize your goals, right? It's okay to make seeing this new person and building this new relationship or exploring whether or not you want to be in a relationship with this person. It's okay to make that fit around your goals. That's okay, right? Think about it. Like most of us guys, if we spend any significant period of time being single, you get focused on yourself, you start working out, start journaling, start cooking healthy, or, getting up early, start reading books, start, doing whatever it is that your hobbies are, right? Some of us like to write or paint or, go for a run, go for walks, right? We start really engaging with ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. I see Elmira's in the chat saying, sure do. Elmira, the heartbreak healer. Y'all check her out on socials, right? You guys, you start tapping in with yourself and really get into yourself. But as soon as someone comes along and it's like, oh, this may be my chance, to find love, then boom, all of a sudden you're breaking dates with yourself. You're breaking dates with yourself suddenly, right? And you're doing that to squeeze that person in, right? Because you don't want to miss out on this opportunity to connect with this person. Come on, if I'm telling the truth, give me some thumbs up in the chat, right? But we need to stop that. We need to stop that. Do not turn your back on your goals, your self-care, whatever that is. It could be your bi-weekly manicures or whatever it is, right? Don't neglect yourself, guys. If you go play basketball or, you hang out with the fellas on a certain day of the week, don't ditch that and start neglecting what's good, what you're doing that's good for your mental health, your relaxation, your self-care, to start prioritizing someone else. It's so common that we do that. All of a sudden your friends aren't hearing from you like they used to. All of a sudden you're not going to go see about your mama, right? We don't do that. This is an example of becoming a martyr for other people, right? Permanent people in your life. We talked about new people. What about the permanent people in your life, right? In each area of your life, mental, emotional, physical, financial, spiritual well-being, become committed to what you want to create for yourself, right? Become committed to that above everything that you do for everybody else. Protect your plans and your ability to create that vision of your life that you want to create for yourself. Make the plans and protect the plans, right? Why is this important? Because if you fail to make the plans or fail to protect the plans, as soon as someone else calls you and says, hey, can you go do this for me? Can you run across town for me? Can you come do this? Can you do that? Can you give me some money? Right? Then you're putting yourself on the back burner. Because 9 times out of 10, for those of us who are nurturers, if somebody asks you, can you do XYZ for me? And the only thing you had planned during that time, or the only thing you had planned to utilize those resources for, that money, that energy, that time, that whatever, if the only thing you was going to do was something for yourself, you'll say, nope, I didn't have no plans. I do it. I got you. Am I lying? Am I lying? Right? If you're a nurturer, if you have a caretaking personality, and the only thing you had plans for was yourself, you'll sit there and say, no, I don't have no plans. And it's not true. You did have plans, but it was plans for you. And you are the one that you easily put on the back burner. That's not right. You have to stop that. You have to stop that. Yes. Yes. Amara says, I've done that before, but never again. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me tell y'all something. I had a major change, a major shift, a transformation in my life. I asked myself one day, I said, hey, Pangea, if you were someone outside of yourself, right? If you were someone outside of yourself, if Pangea was Mangea, would you think that Mangea loves you? Would you think that Mangea likes you? Would you keep fooling with Mangea? And my answer was no. The way I looked at, okay, how am I showing up for myself? If someone I was dating broke off plans with me as often as I was breaking off plans with myself, I would not continue to date that person, right? I wouldn't. I wouldn't think that that person loves me, likes me, cares for me, prioritizes me, really wants a future with me. I wouldn't get that impression. When I was honest with myself, right? I dare you to ask yourself that question. I dare you. Does this make sense? Give me some hearts, y'all. Give me some hearts if this makes sense. Okay? So here's what we have to do. Okay? Protect your plans for yourself and protect your ability to create that you have planned for yourself. Okay? If there's any area where you don't know what you want for yourself, dedicate yourself to the exploration of the idea. Dedicate yourself to figuring out what you want in that area of your life, rather than giving away that time and that energy to other people. Okay? Now, am I saying this means we don't ever help other people? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that we don't help other people to the point of our own detriment. Okay? We don't help other people to the point that we're hurting ourselves. Okay? 9 times out of 10, that's not necessary. Now, if you have a situation in your life where it's like, oh, okay, my parent or somebody, or a spouse or somebody is really sick, is like deathly ill, and for a period of time, I really need to, go out of my way to take care of them. That's different, you guys. But I'm talking about how you live your life on a daily basis. Okay? I'm talking about your habits. Okay? That habit of putting yourself on the back burner. All right, so what we need to do is learn how to say no. And we hear this all the time, but I'm going to give you several ways to say no. Y'all ready? Several ways to say no. I can't do it this time. Okay? Here's how I can help. I can do those kind of things after I do XYZ for myself. You can just say no, right? I'm not, you can also say, I'm not comfortable with that. Okay. If I do that for you now, I'm going to be mad at myself later. You can say, if you can do this part for yourself, do this part for yourself, and then I can commit to doing XYZ. Okay. That's called meeting somebody halfway. Okay. So this does not mean that we become selfish in a bad way. This means we become self-centric. Okay? And so I'm not asking you to be self-centered. I'm asking you to be self-centric. There's a difference. Okay? We have all these bad connotations in our mind with the words selfish and self-centered. The self-centric means I am the center of my own universe and I have a right to be. I have a right to be. If I don't center, if I'm not grounded in my own purpose, my own quality of life, I'm never going to achieve my purpose or the quality of life that I desire. It only makes sense, right? So let's look at the energy of these chakras a bit more, right? As we talked about, the solar plexus chakra is located. No, we just talked about the sacral. Let's talk about the solar plexus now. The second chakra that we're talking about, solar plexus chakra. This one is located above your navel, but below the sternum. Okay, above your navel, but below the sternum. Okay, this is in your abdomen area. Okay, this is where we have our sense of self. This is where we house our sense of self, the energy of our personal power, right? When you say, oh, I have a gut feeling about something, this is just something like you just kind of know something within yourself, right? This is one of the centers of your inner guidance. Okay. And this is like, basically, it's mostly the type of inner guidance where you're like, I know about me. I know the type of person I am. I know the things that are going to make me happy. I know what I want out of life. I know who I am. Okay. Your sense of individuality. Okay. So as you begin to use your energy toward your own highest good, okay, you'll begin to remember things about yourself that you used to appreciate, right? Or discover new things about yourself that you want to explore further, okay? Pay attention to those things, guys. Pay attention to those things and make it a priority to pursue them, okay? Plan time to indulge yourself in those areas and don't let anybody interfere with that commitment, okay? Real love does not require you to sacrifice your self-discovery. Real love does not require you to sacrifice your freedom of choice in your sense of self. Okay? Somebody needs to say that. All we ever hear about is how much work love is and how love hurts and yada, yada, yada. No, that's toxic. Okay? That is toxic. Okay? That's toxic. All right? Think about this. What do you hear about love? How do we express about love? Oh, I feel in love. I'm falling in love. When you fall in love, when you fall, period, when you fall, think about falling down. You're not in control of yourself. Falling is not being in control. Falling, you may get hurt, right? Falling is dangerous, right? Or people, we're taught that being in love is a swept away feeling. Someone swept me off my feet. Why you want to be swept off your feet? If you get swept away, you're being pushed in a direction that you're not in charge of. It's not the direction that you had determined that you wanted to go, right? But that is the subconscious things that we're taught about love. It's okay to stand in love with someone, to be grounded in love with someone. What we need is a type of love, whether it's romantic love, friendship love, family love, a type of love that allows you to hold on to something, which is your sense of self. right? To hold on to who you are and continue to grow in who you are. Okay? So, if this makes sense to you guys, give me some hearts in the chat. If this resonates, if these are things you hadn't thought about before but are going to think more about now, give me some hearts in the chat. Okay? So pay attention to those things that you start to remember about yourself and the new things you discover about yourself. Plan time to indulge yourself in those areas and don't let anybody interfere with that. All right? If you commit to discovering and developing a stronger sense of self, you will soon find that you are a person that is worth the time and energy that you've been investing in other people. That time, that energy, that money that you've been investing in other people, you're worthy of that. Right? You will find that the rewarding feelings and the appreciation that you've been expecting and trying to get from other people, you're going to get that from yourself. You're capable of giving that to yourself. Okay? Yes, we need a newly evolved vocabulary for love. Good observation, Jit. Yes. Yes. Okay, so now some clues, you guys. Some clues that you need to work on setting boundaries, and then we're going to get out of here. Okay, I'm going to give you some clues. 2 clues you need to work on setting boundaries. Okay? Clue number 1 is that you get triggered when other people set clear boundaries. When someone asserts their boundary with you, you take it personally. It's triggering for you, right? If you ask someone for something like and they're like, I can't do that on Friday night because I do XYZ for myself every Friday night, and you feel triggered by that, that is a clue, okay, that you are struggling with setting boundaries for yourself. Because if someone is asserting a boundary that's helping them stay balanced in their own life, if you were also setting boundaries that are creating balance for you in your own life, you'd be like, I get it. Cool. I get it. No problem. Right? I'm going to answer this question in just a second. I see your question, Blue Lotus. Okay. Clue number 2. You repeatedly attract people who cross your boundaries. If you have a problem and you need to work on boundary setting, you're going to continue to attract people who cross your boundaries. Right? So if you keep attracting people that don't respect your boundaries, here's some questions you can ask yourself. How am I disrespecting my boundaries? How am I disrespecting my own boundaries? Right? Where am I failing to set boundaries? Right? When do I fail to express or enforce boundaries that I have set in my own mind? Right? When do I fail to express or enforce boundaries that I've set in my own mind? Because, we can't get mad at people for crossing boundaries that we have not made clear. Okay? So be honest with yourself. Where am I disrespecting my boundaries? Where am I failing to express my boundaries? Okay. Blue Lotus asks, where is a good place to start with self-discovery? I would say paying attention to your reactions to things. Oh, okay. So there's more to the question. It says, okay, where is a good place to start with self-discovery, especially when I have a habit of being impatient with my growth? Okay. So being impatient with your growth. I'm assuming that you mean, if you want to explain that more, you can, but I'm assuming that you mean that you expect a lot out of yourself, right? You expect yourself to just like, hey, I can make these changes today. I can, as soon as I become aware of something that I need to change, I'm supposed to just boom. I'm just supposed to be able to flip a switch. Okay. You have high expectations of yourself, right? Blue Lotus says yes. Okay. So This is a loaded question because when you have high expectations of yourself, more than likely, you're also projecting high expectations onto other people. Okay? That's one aspect of it, right? But that may be the easier portion to resolve, because when you become more gracious and kind with yourself and patient with yourself, you'll become more patient with other people. Okay? But I want you to ask yourself this. What is it that you're trying to disprove? Right? If I don't meet this requirement, it means what about you? What is it that you're trying to prove? Are you telling yourself that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough? What are the negative tapes in your mind that you're trying to prove? And most of the time, Blue Lotus, when you examine those tapes about these negative thoughts in your mind, the something you're trying to disprove, you're going to discover that it's not even your voice. It's someone else's voice who put this on you as a young person, right? Who put this thought in your head as a young person. Okay? So, prime example. Some people, a lot of people, I used to experience this, and I've heard a lot of women express this in one way or another. And I've heard a lot of men express this in one way or another, right? A lot of women have a tape in their head: don't be stupid for a man. Don't be stupid for a man, right? And a lot of guys have this tape in their head: don't be stupid for a woman. Okay, we all, and I don't want to just make everything so heteronormative, but a lot of people have it in their head: don't be stupid for a person that you're dating, right? What does that mean? Don't be foolish. That's telling you don't take risks. Don't become invested. It's telling you to don't trust, right? And ultimately, it can result in you not being able to believe that someone really does care about you when they do. It can make it difficult to accept people at face value. It makes it difficult to be vulnerable with other people. Okay? So that's just one example of a type of tape you may have in your head. Some of us may be pushing ourselves in the area of finances. You may be judging yourself because you're not making the amount of money that you want to make, right? Some of us are, our self-worth, we're finding our value in the amount of money that we make, right? So we're telling ourselves that our net worth is equivalent to our self-worth, right? A lot of men, especially, this is even more prevalent. It's prevalent among ambitious women, but it's even more prevalent among men, because men have been told that their value is found in their wallet and their genitalia. I hope I can say genitalia on YouTube. I don't know what you can say these days, right? But your size, right? Or your ability to please a woman, right? So if you have in your mind that you're inferior in those ways, or not measuring up, so to speak, in those ways, then that's affecting your self-worth. You're hard on yourself about that, right? So, and we're getting confirmation in the chat from men, right? That's so true. And look how low vibrational that is. What about all the other wonderful things about you as a human being? Right? What about your sense of self? All the things that make you unique and a wonderful human being. What about how loving and giving you are? What about how funny you are? Right? What about how creative you are? What about your unique mode of expression? Right? What about how loving you are and nurturing you are? What about all the other wonderful things about you? So men get objectified about money and size and ability to please a woman, just like women get objectified based on their looks and their ability to cook and clean and a willingness to put themselves on the back burner. Right? That toxic nurturer. Right? So Blue Lotus, let me know if this thought process is helping you. I'm suggesting, if anyone else has questions, I'll answer those questions, but I'm suggesting for you, Blue Lotus, to examine the things that you are impatient with yourself about. Get real specific. What is it that I'm impatient with myself about? Because I'm afraid that if I don't measure up to this, then that means what about me? What is that saying about me? Right? And then I want you to ask yourself, well, who told me that? Who said that? Who put that idea in my mind? Right? Was I raised by someone who had that same fear, that same thought process about themselves? Okay? In most situations, we're going to find that thought did not even originate with us. Okay? So does anyone else have a question before we wrap up? Okay, if so, I'll answer it. If not, we'll go ahead and end. I definitely want to thank you guys for making this conversation wonderful tonight, for making it interactive tonight. Okay, Blue Lotus says thank you. All right, awesome. Thank you guys for making this wonderful and exciting and interactive and fun tonight. Okay, I'm definitely going to continue to be here on Tuesday nights. Okay. I also have an event coming up. It is a group sound therapy. It's in person for women. Sorry guys, not this time. Not this time for the guys, but it's an in-person event for women. It's sound therapy using crystal sound bowls. It's coming up in February. I'm going to put the link in the description box below. So when this video posts, you can go to the description box below to see the details about the event. Okay. And thanks so much for all the hearts, you guys, for letting me know this resonated with you all. All right. And we have so much more content coming up for you all. I'm super excited for all the things that we have coming up next. I want to keep and encourage everybody to stay up. Keep your vibrations high. The most powerful thing you can do is to live a joyful life. Okay. So since I don't see any more questions coming up, I just want to say thank you to everyone. Love y'all. Peace, love, light. Peace out to everybody, and I'll see you next week. Love and light, you guys.